Hi, everyone. My name is Chevy Schick. I'm the Director of Traditional Teacher Recruitment at TRQ, the Office of Teacher Recruitment and Quality at the DOE. I joined TRQ this summer, so I am new to the teacher recruitment world at the DOE, but have been working at the DOE with the Division of Early Childhood for over 8 years. So have had the privilege of working with so many of our schools across New York City, and this year was grateful to be able to transition into this position where I can really broaden that support and thinking about how we work with schools all across New York City, across all grade levels as well, not just in early childhood. What are we going to talk about tonight? We'll talk about the New York City Department of Education. What is the New York City Department of Education? What are the opportunities and benefits of working there? Specifically, we'll talk a little bit about early childhood because New York City has such unique opportunities in early childhood. We'll talk about the online teacher application process. How do you actually apply? What does that look like? We'll talk about finding your fit once you've applied. How do you find the right school for you? And then hopefully we'll have some time for questions at the end. Okay, so jumping right in, talking about the DOE. What is the New York City Department of Education? What do we have here? This is New York City's, this is the country's largest school district. We've got over 1 million students, over 70,000 teachers across 1,800 schools, and speaking 180 languages. This really offers unparalleled opportunities for teachers to find their school community in whatever format they're looking for. We've got schools, as you can see, speaking so many different languages across so many different boroughs and neighborhoods in New York, supporting children from so many different communities. And really that means that the opportunities that the DOE offers are really unparalleled. And really there is something for everybody here. So let's talk a little bit more about what that means. Obviously, we're going to just start with the things that you're probably wondering about up front, salary and benefits, which are obviously key. New York City, the New York City Department of Education has a salary range that is negotiated by the UFT, which is the teachers union. The numbers that are up here on the slide are the numbers for this current and this past school year. There is not yet a new UFT contract, but as soon as there is a new one, we will obviously update that information. But right now, the starting salary for somebody with a bachelor's degree and no prior experience is $61,070. And the starting salary for someone with a master's degree and no prior experience is $68,652. For those of you who have previous teaching experience, even if it was not at the DOE, once you begin your job, there is the opportunity to apply for salary steps and salary differentials, where you'll submit all the information about your degrees, about your previous experience, and the DOE will evaluate that information and then get back to you with your updated salary. You can't start that process until you're on payroll and have started teaching, but if there is an updated salary, that will be backdated for you. So you'll be paid that amount backdated to the start of your teaching. Some additional benefits, obviously the insurance that is offered, including dental, vision, prescription drugs, membership with the UFT, as I mentioned, enrollment in New York City's pension plan, and then discounts and promotions at many different retailers, venues, travel services that are available to DOE employees as well. All of the information about the salary and benefits is available on our website. I'm going to reference this a whole bunch of times throughout the session, so you may want to just jot it down now. teachnyc.net, N-E-T, again, teachnyc.net. Is the website that has all of our information for prospective teachers looking to come work at the DOE. And obviously UFT's website has lots of this information available as well. So what does it take to teach in New York City? Which we talked a little bit about, who New York City or who the New York City Department of Education is made of. And therefore we require really passionate, collaborative, and committed teachers who have what it takes to be able to bring their all every single day to support the children, the families, the school communities of New York City. And so what we're here to talk about today is hopefully how all of you can find yourself in this system and really bring all of your passion, all of your ideas, all of your commitment to our children and our families in New York City. We're also a school district that empowers and celebrates teachers. So there are lots of different teacher supports available at the DOE. As I had shared earlier, you'd be joining a cohort of over 70,000 other teachers. So you have the opportunity to be a part of an immense wealth of knowledge, or an immense cohort, right, where there's so much knowledge, there's so much passion, there's so much commitment, there's so much experience, and that exists within each individual school building, but then obviously it exists across districts, across boroughs, and across the DOE overall. So that link is on the bottom again as well, teachnyc.net. But again, that doesn't just apply to this information, but all of the information that we are talking about today is available on teachnyc.net. Just to share a little bit more about what some of those supports for teachers look like. These are available when teachers start, as well as across their teaching career. When teachers begin their first year teaching at the DOE, we have a new teacher week, which takes place usually a week or two before school begins. It's a mix of in-person and virtual collaboration and training opportunities at a citywide level and a school level. It's really a great way to welcome you to the DOE, to get some grounding and sense about the mission and the values, the vision of the New York City Department of Education, as well as to start building some relationships within your school community. New teachers also receive school-based mentors. There is a newsletter that goes out to new teachers. And there's also, although that's not mentioned here, a survey that is sent to new teachers each year, where we collect feedback about the resources and supports that were most helpful to you all, as well as the resources and supports that you wish you had to help us inform and iterate in our process for future years. There's additional resources, including professional development available at the school level on Mondays, instructional coaching at schools. The Borough Field Support Centers provide resources. UFT provides resources. There is something called Teacher's Choice Grant, which is a grant available to each teacher to purchase materials for their classroom and for their students. And there are digital resources as well. So there's really a wealth of resources, all aimed at supporting teachers, both as soon as they begin and then throughout their teaching careers. There are also opportunities to extend your impact as a teacher leader. These are just two examples. There are more. But the DOE really wants to make sure that we are supporting teachers as they think about their long-term careers, both inside the classroom and then as they can extend their experience and their expertise to support others as well. And so what that looks like is there is a model teacher program where teachers use their classrooms as laboratories to invite others in, to see their classroom, to learn from them, to support their professional growth and engage in professional learning together. And so a model teacher can work with other teachers at their school to demonstrate what's happening in their classroom and engage in that learning together. Peer collaborative teacher is a little bit different, where peer collaborative teachers work through coaching and through intervisitation to support other teachers as well. So it's less about necessarily inviting everybody in to see your classroom and more about visiting each other's classrooms and engaging in learning together. Both of these opportunities, I believe, come along with additional stipend compensation, and information about them is available on the DOE's website. This may not be something that you're up for right when you're beginning your teaching career, but we did want to make sure that we have the opportunity to highlight the long-term growth opportunities at the DOE as well, even as you're thinking about potentially beginning your teaching career now. Okay, so I'm going to move to talking a little bit about early childhood, and from here we're going to transition then into the application process. We'll talk a little bit about the history of early childhood in New York City, the different types of programs available in early childhood settings. We're going to talk specifically about NYCEECs, which are one of those program types, and then how you can learn more about this. As I mentioned, I previously worked for 8 years in the New York City DOE's Division of Early Childhood Education. So this is a topic near and dear to my heart and one that I'm excited to be able to talk about tonight. So since 2013, the DOE has more than tripled the number of children enrolled, as well as tripled the number of early childhood programs available to New York City families. Not going to go through all the numbers here one by one, but just to give you a sense of where the program started, Pre-K for All is now available for all 4-year-olds in New York City across all districts and boroughs. And 3K for All has expanded so that there are 3K opportunities in every district and in multiple setting types. It has also included expansions for students with disabilities within early childhood. And so there's been immense growth in this area across New York City, and with that brings immense opportunities for teachers who are interested in supporting our youngest learners through their teaching careers. So what are the different early childhood program types? There are 4 that are outlined here. There are early childhood classrooms in district schools. Those are our typical public schools that we talk about. There are pre-K centers, which are pre-K specific district schools, essentially. They're part of the district school system in the DOE, but they focus specifically on pre-K and 3K as well. So those are small, they can be smaller. Some of them are very large schools where all of the classrooms are early childhood classrooms. There are charter schools that are part of New York City or that are in New York City contracted with the DOE that offer early childhood programs. And then there are what I mentioned before, NYCEECs, New York City Early Education Centers. And these are our often community-based organizations that contract with the DOE to provide early childhood services. The difference, and we'll talk about NYCEECs a little bit more in a moment, but you can see underneath the different handprints, the different certification requirements and opportunities for each of those settings. In order to teach in a 3K or pre-K classroom in a district school, a pre-K center, or a charter school, you do need to be a certified lead teacher. But in order to teach in a NYCEEC, again, you can be a certified lead teacher or a lead teacher on a study plan, and then there are other roles as well. I'm just going to call your attention on the bottom of this slide. You'll see a website, teachnycprek.org. That is a webpage where you can find all sorts of information about teaching in all the different settings within early childhood programs across New York City. So if you're interested in that area, definitely encourage you to take a visit to that webpage. Remembering what all those different handprints look like. And again, we're going to talk a little bit more later about how you find schools across the DOE altogether, but do want to just give you a sense when you're looking at, this is our pre-K finder tool to find early childhood programs for teaching opportunities, as well as I think families use this for enrolling their children or for applying for their children. But what I do want to call your attention to is that number of orange handprints that you can see. The majority of the programs across New York City are the majority of early childhood classrooms across New York City are in our NYCEECs, and those are our orange handprints. So I wanted to just show this image just to call attention to the number of NYCEECs that there are really across every neighborhood and district in New York City. And what does that mean then? Because there are so many NYCEECs across New York City, there are so many opportunities to teach there. And so wanted to highlight for a second just the benefits of teaching in NYCEECs. These are settings that are 100% focused on early childhood education. They are built with young children in mind. They are not large school buildings where there happen to be a class of very small children sort of getting lost as they try to wander through the hallways into the lunchroom, into the restrooms. These are settings that are specifically built for early childhood. They are often smaller, more supportive environments that are really closely connected to the communities that they're located in. Often some of the staff come from those local communities as well. And often you will find families who have sent their children to those same NYCEECs year after year, child after child. And so they're really close relationships. As I mentioned earlier, there are also a large number of locations across New York City. So there's a stronger likelihood that there is a program in the location that you're most interested in working in. And it is the only opportunity to be a lead teacher without New York State certification. So while teaching at a NYCEEC is not considered being a DOE employee, you are employed by the NYCEEC specifically. It is a really great opportunity, especially for those who are starting their teaching careers. You're starting in a smaller, more supportive environment, and you do have the opportunity to start before you receive your state certification. So did want to make sure that we highlight that as well. Talk for a moment here just about how you can apply for all these different opportunities. We're going to talk in a minute about the online teacher application for those of you who are already certified or are on track to be certified. But I do want to highlight that there is a question in that application about whether or not you are open to teaching in NYCEECs. We highly encourage you to click yes. That just expands all of your options. We'll ensure that the team on our end at TRQ is aware of your openness there, and then we can do our best to support you in finding the right program for you. If you are not yet certified, which I'm not sure if this applies to anybody on this call, it sounds like most of you are well on your way toward receiving your certification. But if not, we do have, and therefore you can't complete the online teacher application, we do have a separate application called the Early Childhood Teacher Finder, which you can also find on teachnycprek.org. So we encourage you to complete the application that reflects your certification status. all the while being open to all the different opportunities and possibilities that teaching in NYCEEC might provide you. I'm going to pause here for a minute before we move into our next section, because I see that there are a couple of numbers popping up on the chat. Kendra, any questions that we should address before we move on?
Let me double check. We just have one. Just in case anyone missed, I've just been putting in like the link. So the teachnyc.net
Maybe
link
that's what
is
I'm missing,
there.
and I just see the numbers.
No, we do have a
up.
question. And the teachnycpk.org. So if you guys don't have those links, you could copy them in the chat. And then we do have a question from Aisha. Thank you, Aisha, for putting it into the chat. Can you use a bachelor's in childhood education towards this program, or do you have to be certified in early childhood?
So you should, I mean, all of this information should be confirmed with your school certification officer, and Helen might be able to help you with this as well. But my understanding is in order to teach in NYCEECs, you might need to be on a study plan. It's possible though that childhood education, depending on what certification you have, if you have 1 to 6, you would need the early childhood. But it's possible you can get that. I'm not even sure if that's available as an extension. I'm not sure, it might be. Again, you could start working at a NYCEEC before you complete any of that certification. So you do have the opportunity to be teaching there while you're on your way.
Since NYCEEC's early childhood programs are contracted by D.O.E, are we like entitled for the D.O.E benefits and salaries? How does that work?
No, so because you're not a D.O.E employee, you are an employee of the NYCEEC. The NYCEEC does have a contract with the D.O.E, but they hire teachers independently. So you would not be considered a D.O.E employee. I know there's been a lot of work over the past couple of years to work with NYCEECs to ensure that their budgets are sufficient so that they can provide equitable salaries to those that the D.O.E offers to starting teachers. But it does differ based on the school. So that's definitely a conversation that you'd want to have with the NYCEEC. Many NYCEECs do offer benefits, so you'd want to talk to them again about what that looks like. I think that's it. Yeah, you'd want to talk specifically to the NYCEECs to find out what they have to offer. But the last thing I would say is that then your teaching experience, you're also building teaching experience that if you do transfer to the D.O.E at a later time, when you engage in that salary step process, right, you would also have your NYCEEC teaching experience to be counted as part of that process.
That was my next question, and you answered it. So I did teach in NYCEEC for 4 years, so that experiences would be counted towards the salary step if I were to get into DOE.
That is my understanding. Yes, I don't know. I can't say for sure that it would count as a one-to-one transfer. I don't know exactly how the team that calculates salary steps. I don't know exactly how they calculate it. But it will absolutely be counted. It's just a matter of sort of how they translate it over.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Of course.
So for the second one application, where it says the early childhood teacher finder, like what exactly are the requirements that we need to have to be able to do the application?
I'm going to encourage you to check out teachnycprek.org and find it over there. I actually am not super familiar with what those requirements are. So would encourage you to go take a look at that site.
Oh, okay. So if I already have like one exam taken, like I can apply for the first application, or I'm still like available to apply for the second one?
You can always do both.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's just that if you know that you're not, if you know that you're not going to meet the requirements for the online teacher application, you could meanwhile fill out the early childhood teacher finder.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Of course.
So just to clarify, the 2 applications for the NYCEECs, basically, if you're on track for certification, you're going to fill out the nycteach.net application. And then if you know that you are interested in the NYCEECs, you'll fill out the additional application. If you know you're not going to get certified in time, then you can apply just for the NYCEECs. So hopefully that clarifies it. If you're interested in both, you apply to both applications. If you know you're going to be certified and you don't want to work in NYCEECs, then you just do teachnyc.net. And if you know you're going to be in, you want to be in NYCEECs, but you're not yet eligible, then you are able to just apply for one. But if you know you're interested, then go put out as much as you can and fill out both applications.
Okay, so let's talk now about the application process. High-level overview about the requirements. You need to be certified. You need to be certified, like I said, by September 1st, 2023, in order to start teaching for next school year. You need to submit an application at teachnyc.net, and then you need to do your own outreach and networking. You do not need to wait to submit an application until you are certified. As Helen was sharing earlier, that process can take some time. And so you can absolutely complete your application and include a letter from your university letting us know that you're on track to be certified by a specific date. So these are not numbered steps, right? Because steps 1 and 2 can be happening simultaneously. And then we'll talk shortly then about how you find your position once you have submitted an application and have we review that application. But these are the high-level steps. You need to be certified, you need to apply, and then you need to find your own position. And like we just said, all teachers in the New York City Department of Education must hold a valid teaching certificate. And this year, the date is September 1st, 2023. And you're going to complete one application on teachnyc.net. So you do not apply to work in specific schools. You apply to you fill out one application, which allows you then to take a position in any of 1,800 schools. However, you do have to go through your own process to find a position in one of those schools. But there are not school-specific applications. There is this one application. Okay, so our application is now open and opened this week. teachnyc.net, like I mentioned, is the place where you're going to want to go to find all of that, the link to the application and any other resources. But we're going to talk now a little bit about what you should expect during that application so that you can be prepared. Okay, so once you click on the application site, there's 2 steps that we need to complete overall as part of the application. There is a profile and then an application. We're going to talk more about both of those. But the first thing that you're going to do is log in. As you can see with those 3 boxes with the orange arrows, if you are new to completing an application, you've never applied to a position at the DOE before, you're going to want to click Create Account as a new user. If you have previously applied, you may also have applied for different positions, a position as a school counselor or social worker, some other title. You may already have an account, so you can put in your information under existing user. And if you're not sure if you have an account, you can put in your last name and your social security number and click Search Account, and the system will let you know. This is also the page you'll come to then if you start completing your application but don't submit it all in one sitting, and you want to come back to it, you'll save it, and then when you come back, you'll log in as an existing user. Okay, so what are some of the pieces of information that you need to submit as part of your profile? You need to submit account information and work eligibility. Work eligibility is your work authorization to be able to work in the United States. The DOE as a whole does not sponsor individuals, although specific schools might, but you'll need to provide us with your work authorization information. You'll provide us with your education background, experience, your work experiences and references. There's some additional information that is required, and then there's a disclaimer and release statement. You need to complete all of these components in order to submit your profile, which will then allow you to be able to submit to work on your application.
Is it okay if I ask one question?
Please.
Okay, awesome. So it comes up sometimes. I understand, like with the DOE, they want all the experience, regardless if it's like teacher related. So I always tell students to put all of their experience on the application. However, I do encourage them that their resume can be more focused on the teacher part. Is that acceptable to have the resume that doesn't have all that experience that's on the actual application?
Sure. There are actually two places where you can put in your resume. And so because I mentioned there's a profile and then there's an application, you can upload a resume in each one. So your profile, the profile applies to more positions than just a teacher position. So if you were applying to be a social worker at the DOE, you would complete the same profile. And so that resume, we recommend you upload your most comprehensive resume, right? So the resume that reflects all of your work experience should be uploaded there. But then when you get to the application, you have the opportunity to upload a teacher-specific resume, and that could be a place where you include a resume that specifically highlights your teaching experience and why you're the right fit to be a teacher at the DOE. This is just a quick note: when you register for your account, you'll be asked to fill out this basic information. Please make sure that your social security number is entered accurately because it's the way that you retrieve your password if you lose it. It's also the way that we confirm your certification information with New York State. We used your social security number for that confirmation. So if you enter the wrong social security number, we're not going to be able to find your certification status from the state, and that will delay the process. So please be extra careful. We also recommend when you fill out an email address that you do not use your university email address because you may graduate and no longer have access or no longer check that email account. And then the email that we have on file that a principal may find if they want to reach out to you will not be an email address where they can access you. So we recommend that you use your personal email address here. A couple things to look out for on all the pages of the application and the profile. Up at the top, you'll have a progress bar that just shows how many pages you have left. So you have a sense of how long the application is. Anything that has an asterisk is required. And next to some questions, there's a little blue circle with a question mark icon, and you can click there for some additional tips about the application. You do have opportunities as you complete the application to specify your preferences. There are preferences in a few different areas. You can specify your grade level preference. You can specify your borough preference, and you can specify your District 75 preference. Just to talk about that with a little bit more detail, your grade level preferences, we recommend that you only select grade levels that you are certified to teach. So this is intended to give principals a sense of what you are interested in if you are certified to teach multiple areas, covering multiple grade level spans. But for instance, you might hold a birth to 2 certification and 1 to 6, but you might prefer to work in one or another area. However, if you are not certified to teach high school or middle school, then please don't select that as your preference because that will sort of confuse things when principals are looking to identify candidates who might be the right fit for their school. In terms of boroughs, you have the opportunity to rank your borough preferences. You can offer 3 rankings. And so we encourage you to do so. You can always go back in and change your preferences. So over the course of time, as you are completing your application and engaging in your job search, you can change your preferences. But this is a great way for principals to be able to know who's interested in teaching in their borough. So you're going to want to think about how you can maximize your job prospects through your preferences here. And then lastly, District 75 is a non-geographic district. So the DOE has 32 districts across the 5 boroughs of New York City. And then we have District 75, which exists across, it's a citywide district. And District 75 supports students with disabilities across the entire city. And so there's some great opportunities, especially if you're certified to support students with disabilities in District 75. And so there is a question in the application, similar to the question about NYCEECs. There is a question about whether or not you are open to teaching in District 75, and selecting that, again, just broadens your opportunities as principals of District 75 schools. Will be looking specifically for candidates who check that box to invite them to hiring events, to invite them to interview, and to engage in that process with them. Some additional pieces of information that you'll need to put in your application. You're going to need to upload proof of your state certification. Please use information here that matches what is in Teach. Right, so enter your name the way it is listed in Teach. If your teacher certification is under a maiden name or something else, again, you want to make sure that we have the best chance of finding your certification in Teach because we need to match it. If you are on track to be certified, this is where you will upload that on-track letter from your university. Alternatively, if you are already certified, you can upload a screenshot of your Teach account, or so, I think there are other ways to share this information as well. This is also where you can upload that teaching specific resume. So you have the opportunity here to upload another resume and to share additional information about your work history and your academic history. And you can offer some additional references here as well.
And to confirm, this is the resume that you were talking about that would be like more specific?
Yes.
Okay,
this is
perfect.
your second opportunity to upload a resume. There's also a personal statement section here where you have the opportunity to upload or to draft. Sorry, you have to write it in the tool, in the application tool, but you can answer a few questions just to give principals more of a sense of who you are and really what you would bring to their school community. And I talked through some of this already, right? We have this is some of the information that you'll need to provide about your teacher certification, the status of your certification, the type of certification. Is it initial? Is it provisional? Is it an internship certificate? the subject area, the grade level, the issue date, and the educational pathway to certification. I'm assuming if you're all on this call, you all are following the traditional teacher pathway where you've attended or participating in an educator prep program. So that's what you would select. But you do want to make sure that you provide all this information accurately. And then you have the opportunity to upload the proof of certification, where you can provide a copy of your certificate, a screenshot of your account, or that on-track letter. And then we have some resources on our website. This is on teachnyc.net as well. For creating your resume. I know many universities have great resources as well to support that process, so definitely encourage you to take advantage of those as you think about updating your resume. I'll just run through a couple of quick tips here, but there are so many more. But you'll want to think about who the audience for your resume is, and this is where specifically if you're thinking about a teaching specific resume, right? What is the hiring manager looking for from the ideal candidate? You're going to want to make sure that your areas of certification and relevant experience are listed up top, right? You don't want a hiring manager to have to scroll all the way to the bottom to find out whether or not you are certified to teach in an area that matches their vacancy. You're going to want to use action verbs and specific examples to highlight your skills and accomplishments. And then you're going to want to make sure, again, that it's really clean and concise. There are no grammatical errors, that it is formatted consistently and neatly, and then that it is saved as a PDF so that no changes occur when it is uploaded and shared in different formats. Again, we have more resources on our website to support your resume composition, and I encourage you to take advantage of the resources available at Brooklyn College as well.
Would you be able to take certification tests before completing your bachelor's?
Can you take the tests or can you receive your certification?
Can you take the test before completing your bachelor's?
I think that would be a question that you should ask Helen,
Okay.
so that your school certification officer. Yeah, that's my recommendation.
Okay, great. And then the next question is, what if you have a bachelor's degree in another major? Do you specifically need a bachelor's in education?
So absolutely, but the process might look different. And what I'm talking about tonight is really our traditional process for those who are in an education program. But we have many what we call alternative certification pathways. So opportunities for those who have not followed an education program to be able to receive certification. If you visit teachnyc.net, you can find lots of information about our alternative certification programs. New York City Teaching Fellows and New York City Teaching Collaborative are the two main programs. So definitely encourage you to take a look at that website. I think registration for the fellows is going to open pretty soon. So encourage you to take a look there. And that applies to anyone else on this call who is not in a teacher prep program and working towards certification, but interested in learning more about their opportunities.
And it sounds like you can get the certification without the education degree, right? That's what you said? So
it depends what you need to meet the requirements for certification. The alternative certification pathways help you fulfill those requirements. This traditional pathway requires, my understanding is, sort of attendance in a traditional or an ed prep program, and then meeting those state requirements for certification, the tests that you need to take, the certification audit that was referenced earlier.
Okay,
and any other requirements for your particular subject area.
So Mahadi, hopefully that answers and clarifies that if you don't have an education degree, then you want to look into the alt certification programs that will give you the necessary steps to get to that process. So if you have a degree, you don't have to get an education degree, but you do need to look into the alternative programs such as New York City Men Teach is one. Did you mention another one?
The New York City Teaching Collaborative and New York City
Collaborative, right? Exactly, and fellows. So yes, those different. I'll put that into the chat, but there's a lot of different options.
Okay, so an overview of the application timeline, which launched this week. So we're in the beginning of December. The application will remain open through August. During that period, once you submit your application, and we'll talk through that in a minute, once it is reviewed and you've been entered into our new teacher finder, you can then engage in your job search and in interviewing, especially from December, January, and February. For those of you who are interested in immediate opportunities for this current school year, I'm thinking specifically about those of you who mentioned that you're graduating this fall, and so you may receive your certification early in the winter, and could be open to teaching this year. You do have the opportunity to see vacancies in our system that are open for now as well. So that period usually takes place between December and February. It could extend a little bit later. You do have the opportunity on your application to check off your availability, when when are you going to be, when is the earliest you can begin teaching? And so especially if you are graduating this fall, we encourage you to, again, check off that you are open to immediate opportunities. That just continues to expand your opportunities and your possibilities. From March through June, we have what we call early commitments. For next school year, early commitments are schools in high need areas that are able to make commitments to candidates in specific subject areas before schools receive their budgets in June. So typically schools receive their budgets in June, and once they receive their budgets, then they are able to make official offers to hire candidates. They can obviously be engaging in interviewing candidates all through the spring, but they can't make those official hires until they have their budgets. But certain schools in high need districts and are able to make commitments to candidates in high need subject areas prior to budgets opening. So if you're looking to secure that commitment sooner, then this is a great way to look at the schools in those districts. We're going to talk a little bit more about what those districts are, but just wanted to, and what those subject areas are, but just wanted to explain what that is. And then as you see on the bottom right, peak hiring usually takes place between June and August. As schools have their budgets available, principals have all the information about their vacancies, and they're really going full swing on hiring. A couple of application deadlines. I know this can be a little bit hard to read. There's a lot of information here. It's also available, I believe, on our website, teachnyc.net. January 19th is the deadline to submit your application for immediate opportunities for this school year. Once you do so, and you hopefully check off that you're interested in those immediate opportunities, you'll have access to lists of current vacancies as well as invitations to networking events for open positions if you apply by the 19th. Applying by March 3rd ensures that you can meet our early commitment deadline. And that means that you'll have invitations to in-person and virtual networking events specifically with those schools who are able to make early commitments. You'll have the opportunity to participate in school tours, vacancy lists, virtual job search workshops, and other resources as well. So definitely encourage those who are looking for a position for next school year to apply by March 3rd. And then from April, June, and August, we have our subsequent deadlines. Again, each of those deadlines just lists what the priorities are or the implications are for each timeline. The earlier you submit your application, the better, especially for those of you who are still on track to receive your certification. We encourage you to apply by April 27th. Because we want to make sure that you have sufficient time for your certification to be processed by the state. It can take up to 4 months. And so we want to make sure that that will be processed before September 1st. Our summer hiring deadline is June 22nd, because we know that principals are then going all in on hiring. And our final deadline is August 10th. Like I mentioned all the way at the beginning of our time together tonight, this is our last deadline in order to be processed in time for the first payroll period. Just a bit more on early commitment. Like I mentioned, these are opportunities for candidates to secure a position before budgets are released in June. And these are schools in the specific districts that can make those commitments to candidates in those certain subject areas between March and June. What we have listed on the slide here are those districts. It's all of our Bronx districts, a bunch of our Brooklyn districts, 16, 17, 19, 23, and 32, one Queens district, Staten Island, which is only one district, and then noting that all of our District 75 and our access schools as well. So any schools in those districts that are listed are able to make early commitments, and they're able to make early commitments for candidates in the subject areas listed in the right-hand column, in students with disabilities, math, science, English as a new language, world languages, bilingual education, and CTE, or career and technical education. And what is the application process? So this is just a recap of everything that we talked through. You'll first complete the common profile, then you'll complete the online teacher application, then we will review your application, then you will be entered into the new teacher finder, and then you will begin your job search, hopefully culminating then in coming to work at the DOE. So just a high level sort of step-by-step process. We're going to talk, I'll pause for a moment for any last questions, and then we're going to move into the sort of beginning job search process and understanding what that process looks like. But again, just to recap, in order to teach at the DOE, you must be certified, you must submit your application on teachnyc.net, and you have to do your own job outreach.
Thank you for adding that part of the own job outreach, because it's so important to be your own captain of your own ship. You have to take charge. You have to reach out to people, make yourself a little uncomfortable, right? Like if you're not used to just, reaching out to people that you're not familiar with, but don't forget the Career Center is here to help you with that. If you're not sure how to say things, how to word things, how to write your letter of interest, all of this is very important and needed to get into your next role. So don't let that discourage you. Hopefully that inspires you, and please take heed, right? Don't just wait to get into the teacher finder and like that's it. You really have to take ownership of finding a good place and somewhere that you want to be. That's very important. I just want to add that.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, so we're going to jump in. I know it's been a lot of listening to me talk, but we're going to jump in now to finding your fit. How do you go about finding your fit in the New York City Department of Education? So the new Teacher Finder is that tool that I mentioned before. This is going to be your best friend in your job search. This is the candidate portal that you have access to once we've reviewed your application, confirmed that you are certified or are on track to be certified, that you are authorized to work in the United States. Once we do that, we move your application into the new Teacher Finder, and now you have access to this portal. Once you have access to the new Teacher Finder, you can search for positions, you can filter by borough, you can filter by grade level, you can filter by subject area, and you can then see a list of schools that have entered vacancies in those areas that meet your specifications. So if you are certified to teach math and you are interested in teaching in the Bronx, specifically high school level, you would enter those specifications, and then the schools that have the available vacancies would pop up. This means then that you'd have the opportunity to then start your process of learning about those schools. But the thing that I want to highlight here is that you're going to have to then reach out to those schools. There is the opportunity to communicate with principals through the new Teacher Finder. We also recommend that you communicate directly via email, just to make sure, because principals are so busy and they receive so many communications. One thing you're going to want to think about in your job search process is where you can make the greatest impact. This past year, nearly 60% of our hires taught or were hired to teach in Brooklyn and in the Bronx. So when you're thinking about your borough preferences that you're putting in your application, we highly encourage you to select these boroughs. These are also the boroughs that have the most districts that are participating in early commitment. So by selecting the Brooklyn and the Bronx, and by focusing your job search in those areas, you are widening your job prospects and increasing the likelihood that you will be able to find a position really soon and really in a place where you can have a great impact. New York City is a very large city. We have so many different communities. We also have a great public transportation system. So I would say don't be too concerned just yet about what it would be like to commute to a specific school. You can look at all that information on our website as you look at the maps that we have available for you. You also, if you apply by March 3rd and therefore are expressing interest in early commitment districts, you might have the opportunity to participate in school tours where you can visit a school and see what that experience is like. So we definitely encourage you to preference Brooklyn and the Bronx in your application and in the focus of your job search in order to increase your job prospects. Like Kendra mentioned, there are so many different ways that you can support your job search. You research schools online, you can conduct outreach to schools directly, use the new Teacher Finder, use other job boards as well to find out about schools, network with colleagues, with professors, with friends, and attend DOE networking events. We've got lots of events available. And definitely encourage you to take advantage of those, as they're great ways to meet principals who have needs and to build relationships and hopefully begin the hiring and interview process. Like I mentioned, you can use the new Teacher Finder to search in that way. So definitely encourage you to take advantage of this tool. You can also, on the DOE's website, once you've found a school that you might be interested in, this is the regular schools.nyc.gov website. You can click up at the top at Find a School, and there you have the opportunity to type in a school name or address to search for schools. Once you do so, you will see then a portal that has information about each school, some data about the school, and so this is a way that you can learn information about a school and to support your job search as well. You also want to think about ways that you can stand out virtually through this process. Principals are going through many, many different resumes, candidates, portals, and so you want to make sure that you are uploading a virtual portfolio Once you are in the new teacher finder, so once we reviewed your application and you've been moved into the new teacher finder, there is a spotlight section. Let me see if we could see it here actually. Yep, you see right underneath candidate portal, it says spotlight. If you click on spotlight, you have the opportunity to upload an additional cover letter, excuse me, references, recommendations. You can also upload a portfolio. So this can be a great opportunity to help yourself stand out for principals as well, because they have access to this when they are looking for candidates. Just so you know, principals have the flip side of this portal, right, where they can filter for subject areas, candidates who have preferenced certain grade levels and certain boroughs to find candidates who might be a good fit and be a good match for vacancies that they have. So they're searching for you the same way you are searching for them. Again, you're going to want to make sure that you have a strong resume and a strong cover letter, and you can upload videos as well. Coming to an end here, just a couple quick stats about the application process this past year. Over 50% of our applications were started before March, and over 1,000 early commitments and early hires were completed before July 15th. It took applicants an average of 20 days to submit their application. That is a decrease from previous years. There used to be an essay as part of the application that is no longer required. So that number has gone down, and it has taken an average of 85 days between application submission and hire date. And so we definitely encourage you to submit your application early. Again, you do not need to wait to be certified in order to apply. You can apply while you're on track, because the job search process can take time. And because so many early commitments do occur during this period, we definitely encourage you to submit your application early. I'm going to go through a couple of next steps. These are our websites. Again, teachnyc.net. I'm going to talk for a minute about our online support center, which you can also access on teachnyc.net. And here is the main HR Connect phone number for the DOE. The online support center. This is a great resource. Highly encourage you all to take advantage of it. If you are on teachnyc.net, all the way at the top is an orange box that says Online Support Center. This is a 24/7 resource where the team has really worked to build out answers to all of the questions that you may have about the application process, about certification, about teaching at the DOE. So once you access the Online Support Center, you can type anything in the keyword search button. To search for something, you can click on one of the boxes. You see those 6 boxes below. You can click there to be able to bring up a series of articles about specific topics. And then all the way on the top right, where you see it says Contact Us, you can fill out a help desk form if you have a specific question that is not answered here, and someone on our team will get back to you, usually within 48 hours. So I highly encourage you to take advantage of the Online Support Center through your application and job search process. We also have an application guide that is available on the website and on the Online Support Center as well. Please follow us on social media. We post all the relevant updates, opportunities, deadlines, links are all posted on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. So definitely encourage you to follow us there, share your experiences. Excuse me. We definitely want to grow our following, and we definitely use that as a place where we advertise, great news, the application is open, or anything like that. That was a lot of information. Thank you all for bearing with me. I'm going to pause now for questions.
So have there been times where the application is turned down?
Great question. So we review, like I said, we make sure that you are either certified or on track to be certified, and that you're authorized to work in the United States. So if neither of those things are true, then we will not move your application into the new teacher finder. If you are on track to be certified, and we move you into the new teacher finder, but then you don't finish your certification, for whatever reason you don't get your certification, then you will not be able to start work either. So I just want to be clear that being entered into the new teacher finder does not mean that you are confirmed that you will receive a position. It means that you now have the opportunity to, and if you were on track, you need to, one of those requirements is that you complete your certification. I know sometimes you're just waiting for the state to process it, which is why we allow applicants to submit while they're waiting, but you do need to receive that certification in order to teach. How do we get a nomination from the school principal for substitute position in the DOE? I'm going to encourage you to look on the DOE's website for more information about that. That doesn't happen through my office, so I actually don't have more details there. My apologies. I will say if you are applying to be a teacher, a full-time teacher, you're on track to receive your certification, and you're talking to principals about positions, that could be something you ask them about as well. Do DOE applications require a letter of recommendation? No, we do not. We do require that you give at least one reference. but that does not have to include a letter of recommendation. It just has to include a reference. In the spotlight section on the new teacher finder, you do have the opportunity to upload letters of recommendation. Again, just other ways that you can help yourself stand out, because this past year we received over 10,000 traditional teacher applications. So you definitely want to think about ways that you can have yourself stand out in the crowd. Aside from alternative teaching routes, anything I can do to get into the DOE teaching application and certification? I don't know if you're the person who was asking earlier about if you're not in an education program. You do need to be certified, so you can either attend a traditional certification program or participate in an alternative certification program. So those are your two options. Is the hiring freeze still in effect? I'm so glad that you asked this question. No, it is not. This is a breaking news update that is in effect this week. It might be in effect until tomorrow, but no, the hiring freeze as of now has been removed for this next hiring period. So this past, if you don't know what we're talking about, great. But the DOE had some hiring restrictions around certain certification areas this past year, and those will be lifted by tomorrow. Yes, absolutely. Check off District 75. Other ways to find schools that have inclusion classrooms. So I think that this could be, I'm not sure if you can filter for District 75 in the new teacher finder. You should be able to, so I hope you can. But I would also encourage you, on our DOE website, there is information about District 75. And I think there's a list of all the District 75 schools. So you can also search for those schools and reach out to them directly. While the new teacher finder will show you schools where principals have put vacancies in the new teacher finder, if there's a particular school that you really want to work in, you can also email the principal and say, I don't know if you have a vacancy, but I'd love to put my resume out there if you do. So that is absolutely a way that you can stand out as well. Samantha, I would say take a look on our online support center. If you just search for District 75, a whole bunch of articles about District 75 will come up, and you can get additional information there as well. We need all the special education teachers we can get. We appreciate your commitment there. Still working on the initial certification test. Can an applicant still get hired with an emergency COVID certification? I think if your COVID certification is still valid, then yes. I don't think the state is giving out new COVID certifications. But if your COVID certification is valid, then yes, you can still apply. Can we get hired by the DOE before completing the bachelor's degree? I don't know, because different certification requirements have different, some subject areas are bachelor's, some are master's programs. So it's, I think, less about, I don't know exactly about if you need to have a bachelor's degree. I think you do. But additionally, even more importantly, you need to have your certification, and those two things often come hand in hand.
Is there like any time like the principals would reach out to the candidate if they like their application and stuff like that?
So it really just depends on the principal. They absolutely can. Principals, like I said, have access to the new teacher finder where they can find candidates. They can filter by the subject area, the grade level, the borough that they're looking for. We also will send principals upon request candidate lists. So if they say to us, hey, I have an ENL vacancy in 6th grade, can you help me? We can give them a list of all the candidates from the new teacher finder who are eligible, and then they can use that list to reach out to some candidates. We host networking events with principals in specific areas. They were previously all virtual. There will be some in person this year as well. I highly encourage you all to take advantage of those, because those are great ways to get principals' attention while they're there, and then be able to follow up as well.
How do we sign up for the networking event? Is there a newsletter we could register
so if you're in the new teacher finder you meet the specifications, you might be invited to those events. So you need to be in the new teacher finder in order to be invited to an event. When I say invited, we will do events sometimes that are only for special education. So we will only invite candidates who have special education certification, or we will do events that are for early childhood, and we will only invite candidates for early childhoods who have early childhood certificates. So if they're not open to everybody, but we will invite all the applicants. We will sometimes, depending on the number of participants, we will sometimes use borough preference as well. So if we're hosting an event for Bronx principals, we will invite everybody who preference the Bronx as well. So your best chance is to be in the NTF and to include as many opportunities to broaden your horizons and open yourself up to as many opportunities as possible. Thank you.